lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
What's up, Joe?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Well, as you know, just finished a really fun episode of Sports Cards Live with Peter Iannicelli. What I mean,
Whew.
yeah, like what? I don't know. I left that episode. I said to him, that was so much fun. Like 2 hours went by so fast. And I just felt like, I was due for an episode like that, kind of going back to the roots and just a nice collector episode. No, hobby infrastructure, no market talk, no drama, just a good collector episode. And what a great collector he is. What were some of your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, refreshing in a word. And analysis is paralysis. I feel like we're doing so much analysis these days. It's nice to get back to the roots of enjoying, the hobby and the cards. I really liked early on in the show, he said something about the slow ride of collecting vintage. And that really resonated for me because I feel like long before, we all got caught up with the glittery, shiny stuff, it was like the older the better as far as I was concerned, and going back and feeling like these things are antiques or, relics, if you will, like actually relics, not like an insert named relics, which, no disparagement on modern stuff at all. But like, I don't know, it was refreshing to kind of hear somebody that was, he's still reasonably young too, but he knew a lot about the vintage era, the pre-war era, and the appreciation. And he said something kind of funny, or maybe it was Lee Haskins. I think it was Lee Haskins, something about like, I read about Ruth, and people were talking about, I had a conversation, and that's so true. Like, I never saw Lou Gehrig play, but I read about him. I read about Jackie Robinson, and so they did seem very much personable to me, relatable to me. And so, yeah, I guess, some of the conversations that we've had previously and that came up in that episode about how will people understand the vintage market moving forward, the older players, history, all of that. To me, it was really an encouraging show, and kind of stoked the fire of getting back to the roots of why I collect.
Yeah. Well, first of all, and possibly most importantly, nice hat.
Saturday night.
Sports Cards Live. Couple. We have a few people watching. They're spilling in here, but this is our friend Tim McInerney from Slabstrong, who's joined the show. Great to see you. I think you're in Dallas right now, so hopefully you're having a great show so far. He says, "There we go, Slabstrong." He says, "Joe owns a card that I consider a grail." There you go. Do you know what card he's talking about?
Oh, I do. It's the Duke Kahanamaku card. Maybe I can find it. It's the Sports Kings Gowdy, and Duke being a surfer as well as an Olympic swimmer. And I think Tim's starting to think about it in relation to, his brawny advertisements.
Right. That makes sense. Mark Santucci's here. Lapper says, okay, but are you guys going to talk about graphs in the market, right? No, I don't think so. Purple Haze, what's going on? And he confirms it's the Duke. Very nice, very nice. Well, welcome everybody who is joining us to the late show, the after hours show. It's late. I mean, it's listen, even out east, it's only 20 after midnight, and I know a lot of them are just getting started. We got some night owls in this hobby for sure. Adam Holgate, good to see you back. Bobby, what are you saying here? If your grandfather played on a team which the cards are incorrectly dated, it would then matter to the players and or the family rank. Maybe. maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much. Listen, I know it's important. I know it's important to have the right date on things, but I don't know. I'm not. It's not. It doesn't. I don't get bent about it. Like it's still nice to be accurate. So I'll definitely give it that. So yeah, that was fun with Peter. Again, great collector. Really enjoyed that discussion and his energy, just his energy. Right? He's giddy about the hobby, and that's what more can you ask for?
Totally. And props to Bobby. The veracity of history is an important concept. But with regards to Peter, I think
Bobby, good enough.
the story that he told, it was a little like Rip Van Winkle, like kind of like falling asleep, like, okay, let's see what happens. And then he wakes up and he owns a T206 autographed Cobb. And I mean, to me, I don't dabble in that kind of high-end product, so I don't really know, but seeing some of the other cards that have gone for, six figures, I think that's a very good investment. I mean, it's a museum piece, let's be honest. And I also understand, your position, although I think we could maybe try and gently sway you over time. But, the intersectionality between an actual vintage card and a player signing that card is really, to me, something that is elevates, amplifies the value. And so the backstory that he had and the provenance that he shared with us, where it was Ty Cobb's friend who sent it to Ty Cobb and Ty Cobb sent it back to him. I mean, if that story is true, I mean, and I have no reason to believe it's not, like, that's such a great story in the midst of, we have to be dubious. We have to be skeptical about, how did this get signed? Somebody mentioned the SGC stuff. So anyway, I just loved the story. I loved how he kind of walked into it somewhat blindly, didn't do his homework. I mean, he did his homework. The hay was in the barn. He knew that was a card he wanted in his collection, and he went for it.
I like the story. I like that as you called it, the Rip Van Winkle, where he went to sleep. Hey, it was late. He was tired, right? But there's a reward involved in going to sleep with that thought in your head that, am I going to win this or not? And I'm not going to know until I wake up, 6 to 9 hours later, whatever it is, and find out. And then you wake up, and as soon as you wake up, you wake up like you do every day, and probably within a second or two, you remember, did I win the card? And now you have that excitement. This might be the most exciting moment in the whole journey of buying and owning a card, is that moment when you want to know if you actually own it or not. Like, is my bid big enough? And so when he woke up that morning and he thought to himself, oh yeah, I mean, that's an exciting thing. And then to find out you won it within your budget, pretty cool, fun story. Bobby makes a great comment here. We're all getting giddy with the Expo around the corner, and that's for people going. And of course, with the National also around the corner, really only a few weeks later. So yeah, I think the hobby is getting, I know I'm giddy for both Expo and National. Just actually today, we booked my flight to the National. I don't have a flight coming home yet, but I have a flight going there. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. Mark wants to, hey, Joe, do you like the Dallas Stars? And if not, who's your favorite NHL hockey team?
It'd probably be the Sharks, just because of proximity. I'm in Santa Cruz, so San Jose is just a hop, skip, and a jump. But I do, and it's only because of the drop. I do the Oilers, the Houston Oilers with that drop. I find them a compelling franchise.
Fair, and I was thinking you were going to say the Calgary Flames.
No, I mean, maybe on your behalf. I am rooting for the Flames this year. What's the series at now? Is it 1-1?
It's 1-1 after last night. Yeah, we have a best of 5 on our hands now. The Battle of Alberta. It's the hockey playoffs have been so good this year, And Connor McDavid has been outstanding. So I actually I watched the game last night with a couple of buddies, and at one point I think it was during the intermission between the second and third period, the commentator, one of them was Kelly Rudy. Kelly Rudy is a broadcaster now, but he played goalie for the LA Kings. I think he played 700 games with Wayne Gretzky on the team with Gretzky. So Kelly Rudy he's a hockey expert. He knows what he's talking about. And he went on this whole speech about Connor McDavid and how he is the best player in the world, and it's not even close. He said it 2 or 3 times last night. I recorded it. I had my buddy rewind so I could record it, and I'm going to try and put it on my Instagram or something, because it's important for people to recognize that right now is a moment in history in hockey where we are witnessing the best player in the world, who is so far and away the best player, similar to how Wayne Gretzky was so far and away the best player. I mean, with an exception for Mario Lemieux, who was right up there as well in his prime, and when, which was, he had a long prime. But I mean, we are fortunate right now to be seeing the quality of hockey we're seeing. And Kelly Rudy went on to say that, I think he said that I think it was the last game of the Calgary-Dallas series. He says, this might be the best hockey game I've ever seen. This is a guy who was on the ice for 700 games with Wayne Gretzky, and that's the best game he's ever seen. Like, just a huge, huge statement. So if you want to get into hockey, now is the time. You can see some amazing games, and just the skill on display is phenomenal. So,
do you guys have a young goalie, Jake Oettinger? Oettinger?
That's doubt. We beat him. But okay. He's the reason why we went 7 games with them, and like into overtime on game 7, we peppered him. I think the scoring chances were like 120 for Calgary to 60 for Dallas.
Wow.
Like the shot attempts. That's an amazing advantage. And yet we only beat them 3-2 because this guy stood on his head. So if anyone's looking for a hockey goalie to prospect on, Jake Oettinger for the Dallas Stars is the guy. Like, the guy is unbelievable. He might be the next coming of, people say he reminds them of Carey Price, who was a hobby darling for over 10 years. He's not so much anymore, but yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how good hockey is right now. So I'll go to some comments. So Hits and Chicks, first of all, says Joe for Prez. I don't know who this is. It might be Jordan. It's somebody from Clubhouse in any event. Justin Vick in the house. I can't sleep when I have an auction pending for a $3 card. I hear that. Yes, Flames Lapper, you know it. Baseball card. That's Baz, I believe. Good evening and welcome to the show. Purple Haze. Baz is a very active on Clubhouse now. I haven't been myself, but I know he is. Purple Haze. I bought 2 Kobe SSP cards in my sleep this week. Woke up and they won. Good for you. Congratulations. And Lapper says the real question is Crosby versus McDavid. I don't know about that one. Hart says Sid, but I just don't know. Well, listen, I can answer this for you. At this point in time, McDavid, I think, is the better player. I think McDavid's skills are just better than Crosby's ever were. But Crosby, and McDavid is great, but Crosby just has the better career. He has the Stanley Cups. He has the Golden Goal. For a long time, he was the best player in the league. He's still a great player, but, Connor McDavid is just on another level. So I'm going to kind of answer it that way. But yeah, Sidney Crosby is a true hero. He earned hero status in Canada. He has hero status in Pittsburgh too. Is it 2 or 3 cups? I think it's 3. Someone correct me. I'm blanking on that. But Rich Barone, welcome, my brother. Rich, are you coming? You're coming up for the Expo, of course. I don't need to ask that, Rich, but we do have a reservation for Jack Astor's on Thursday at 8 p.m. after the show ends. I'll get there by about 8:15. Everyone's invited. The reservation is in my name, so if you get to Jack Astor's, check my Instagram story. The address is on there right now. Want to see you all there. 3 cups for Crosby. Definitely want to see the Mayor of Canada, Rich Barone, there. But thank you, Daniel, for confirming 3 cups for Crosby. Connor McDavid had 0. Crosby's got he's got Hart trophies for most valuable. He's got Art Ross trophies for the most points in the league. Probably has a Conn Smythe as most valuable player in the Stanley Cup final playoffs, or in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So It's a great discussion. I think they're both awesome. Daniel, you'll do your best to be at Jack's. Do better than your best. I want you there, brother. I want you there. The mayor will be there. Good to hear. Good to hear. Lapper, you better be coming too. You say McDavid does just does absolutely amazing things with speed. I don't think he has the puck protection bit. Yeah, right. I think Crosby has a more complete game, but McDavid he's just so darn good. Just so good. So I had a couple cards come in. Actually, I had some cards come in today. I went to my PO box and lo and behold, I had 3 bubblers in there, and I kind of wasn't expecting them. I kind of forgot about it. I knew they were coming, but one of them got here faster than I thought it would, and so did the other one. Actually, this one came from Probstein. It came really quick. You'll know this card, Joe, because it's actually, talk about hoarding. It's the second copy I have of it now. So I picked up this, guys. I picked up this on eBay.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember when we were, that's an ultimate, right?
It's the ultimate Upper Deck Ultimate Collection, game used patch, Tom Brady. This is the first copy I have is a graded version. I don't even remember what grade it is, but this card is from 2005 Ultimate Collection. And, listen, it's a 2-color with a piece of red thread dangling in there. So I think it's legit a 3-color patch. It's out of 50, game used, Brady in full New England uniform. I just love the aesthetics of this card. So I jumped on it. It was cheaper than the graded version I have. That copy I think is a 4-color though, so it's even better. But I couldn't leave it. I'm like, that's such a good card. So I grabbed it. So that came in today. And then also, this is a card I traded for. What's that, Joe?
Oh, is that one numbered?
The Brady?
Yeah.
Whoop. Stay in there. Yeah, it's numbered 9 of 50. You can see it down at the bottom.
Wow, great. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
9 of 50. And then here's a card that I traded for with a buddy of mine, a local buddy. He's not local anymore. He's moved out to BC. But I've had a card that he's wanted for a long time. It was a Evgeny Malkin, who is Crosby's like winger for many of these guys scored a ton of points together. Malkin, if it wasn't for Crosby, he'd be much more well known. He's a great player. But I had a SP Authentic limited auto patch out of 10 of his. And this buddy of mine, Sean, was collecting that set. And he asked me about it every year or so. And finally this time I'm like, I'll let it go. So we made a trade, and I ended up getting this guy right here. This is a 2011 The Cup Mario Lemieux signature patch on card auto number. It's a short print out of 35 because these are usually out of 75 this year. But a beautiful auto. It's a 1-color patch, but at least it's yellow. It's a nice piece, and it's in a BGS 9 holder, so pretty decent. So I traded for this, and there were a few other moving parts. But happy to grab that. That came today pretty quick.
Did that have an auto grade? Did it get a 9 or a 10?
It got a 10 on the reverse. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love that on-card auto. Sometimes they'll ding you if the auto is bordering right on the border, and I couldn't quite tell if the auto. Oh yeah, he got it right on there. Nice.
Oh
nice.
Yeah.
And beautiful pen strokes there, bold blue.
Yeah, like he pushed down appropriately. It's still that nice bright blue. It hasn't started to fade into that darker blue you sometimes see. Just a beautiful card. And just a clean card, right? Like, just a beauty.
Beautiful.
I'd obviously prefer if there was some black and white in the patch, but hey, it's okay. It's still a great Lemieux auto patch.
Again, I'm not even going to front. I'm not a big hockey guy, but for some reason I do associate Mario Lemieux with that color. Like,
yeah. No, you're right. It does. It's good that it's good that that's the one color. If it was white or black, I would not have been nearly as excited for it. I still probably would have been willing to acquire it, but it's a lot nicer this way. Rich Barone says Tavares, who plays for the Maple Leafs, will never win the cup. It's the curse of the mayor. So Rich Barone is a huge New York Islanders fan, lifelong Islanders fan, and season ticket holder. And they had John Tavares. He was a rookie in 09-10, and he defected that team to go to the Maple Leafs, which is his hometown. And Rich just isn't willing to forgive him. So, and that's okay, Richie. Lapper says, we live in an amazing time. I'm not sure we'll see such a ridiculous disparity between the best player in the league, McDavid, and the next. Take your pick. Who might be, it might be one of the Colorado Avalanche, either Nathan McKinnon or Cale Makar. I mean, I've heard Cale Makar being spoken in the same sentences as Connor McDavid. Now that's high praise. And then, of course, you've got Crosby, Ovechkin. You've got lots of Austin Matthews. But you're right. I think Lapper's right. It's not really close. Daniel says, smart time to buy Brady. Thanks. Holgate says, nice Lemieux. Thank you. Daniel, Mario has a sweet auto. Triple V. Thank you. Sweet pickup. Matthews number 2 in your. You are in the Toronto area, though, Daniel. So how much of that is bias? And I asked that, legitimately asked that. How much of that is bias, or do you truly believe that? And I'm not arguing it. I mean, Crosby and Ovechkin are sort of the last generation, and they're still both great, but they're not at their peak anymore. So, yeah, Matthews is up there. Matthews, McKinnon, Cale Makar, they're up there for sure. Irving Monero, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the show. Good to see you. It's earlier in California. He's not biased, honest. Okay, good to know. Good to know. And Mark Santucci says, I associate Guy Lafleur, Rod Gilbert, and Ken Dryden. Interesting. Bobby says, also a Leafs fan, says Matthews has best hands. That's it. Okay, and he does have great. And you don't score 60 goals without great hands, that's for sure. And he's not even who's your favorite Maple Leaf then, Daniel? Who's your favorite? Is it Marner? Is it Mark Giordano? I just say that because he played in Calgary for so long. Well, we got more people here with us now. Rich says, will there ever be another player like Gretzky in your eye? I mean, listen, it's McDavid. He's that next. There will never be another player like Gretzky because we'll never go back to those days of that the equipment they used to wear, the size of the goalies versus the size of the nets. I mean, it's just a different game now. In my opinion, McDavid is as close as we'll get. But I'd love to hear like Bobby's thoughts on that, Daniel's thoughts on that, anyone else out there who's a hockey guy. Love to know your thoughts on Rich's question right there. Marner's your favorite. Yeah, Marner's great. And too bad Marner was the victim of a carjacking last week. Like after they got knocked out of the playoffs. He's okay, but that's just crazy. Okay, I had 3 more cards come, all from one seller on eBay. These are all rare hockey inserts. They're actually all Easter egg. They're all O-Pee-Chee Easter eggs. So I picked up the Ovechkin Glow Peachy. This was a very rare card from 16-17. It actually glows in the dark. If you charge it in the sun, all the yellow from the background of the player, the words O-Pee-Chee, the words Glow Peachy, and his name, they will all glow in the dark, as well as that thin yellow border around there. So these are really cool. And I have a couple others, so I grabbed it. It's neat.
What year is that?
It's 2016.
Okay.
And then these are the 2014 Easter eggs. I picked up 2 of them. These are O-Pee-Chee 3Ds. I picked up the Matt Sundin, speaking of the Maple Leafs, and the Jaromir Jagr, who is an all-time legend. So that was my mail day for the week, adding to my rare insert collection with these 3, adding to my Tom Brady patch collection, which we talked about several months now. Joe and I actually talked about that quite a bit, even on one episode. And then this card here, I'm not yet sure if this is going into my Limbo collection, which are cards I'm not sure I'm keeping for myself, or if this will be on my table at the Toronto Expo 2 weeks from now. I do not yet know. Haven't made that decision yet, but I do really like this card. So we'll see. We will see.
Just to add on to the Brady acquisition, which I think it was about maybe 6 months ago that you sort of had a bee in your bonnet. You said, Joe, I think Tom Brady, game used jerseys might be a play. And I was like, ooh. So I took a look and there was a few active auctions, and you pulled the multicolored patches, and you're so good at like locating them and then zeroing in. I got a few myself. I mean, maybe 2 or 3. And as somebody mentioned in the chat earlier, that looks like a pretty good play now. I mean, with Brady coming back yet again, that kind of return, and Brady being so goatish, I think, and add the extra emphasis on, I think there will be a time where truly game used jerseys of GOATs are more and more revered. And so, to get the prime pieces of the jersey in a nice presentation with a iconic company like Upper Deck, I think those are fabulous plays. And even though I I was like a step down from you. I'm pretty happy with, I don't know where they are. I can't show them right now, but I was pretty happy with the few Brady's. They were more like napkin cards, but they're still game used jerseys from, you know, the early 2000s. So over time, I think those are going to be fun to own and look at and hold their value quite well.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. I mean, I think I have 4 total Brady patch cards now, all from the 2000s. I wanted to stay early enough and not get. I don't want any of the current. I don't want any of the Prism stuff. I want the first decade of it, the first few years of his career, if I can. I just think they make for great cards, and this design on this particular year here, I just love the design, and it's familiar to me because there's hockey. They did a hockey set with a similar design.
Yeah, basketball as well. I mean, it is a very familiar design. Yep.
Totally. Let's go to some comments here. Irving says, "Go Kings, go!" But they're out though, unfortunately, to the LA Kings or to the Edmonton Oilers, which allowed us to set up this epic Battle of Alberta, which hasn't happened in the playoffs in 30 years.
Wowzer.
So it's pretty big for this province here. You know, we have provinces, not states, and we've got, you know, Calgary and Edmonton. We're a 3-hour drive from each other, straight north-south.
So is it a match or a game?
It's a game.
Okay, just check.
Rich Bro, no Easter egg island. Richie, I don't collect the Islanders. You know that, but I like Barzal. He's a good player. Adam tells me to bring the Lemieux to Expo. I'd say it's a good chance. I will. Excuse me. Rich Barone wants to know, what does Joe collect? I'll let you speak to it, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm vintage baseball are my roots, and then you know, just over time, whatever, you know, I've been collecting more Golden State Warriors just because I'm a fan of the Warriors. So Curry, you know, but yeah, I mean, you know, Mays, Clemente, Jackie, Satchel. But I do have a few things to show maybe when we get to that point. I'm pretty collective, Rich. I'm pretty collective. Okay, well, all right. So I went down to Southern California, you know, about a 6-hour sojourn for me. And I was driving down to see my father, and you know, Burbank Sports Cards is literally like right on the way. I was down there seeing another friend as well. And what's great about Burbank is they literally will just like, I mean, I won't say they take anything, but I brought my handy Pelican case full of things that I literally like threw it together in all of like 45 minutes. Like, okay, here's some cards I don't want. Let's see what I can do at Burbank. So I bring it in there, and you know, I know Rob. You know Rob. I hope Rob comes on the show sometime. He's fantastic. Ryan, his son. Amazing mind there who, you know, every time I go there, he's incredibly gracious with his time, his expertise. We talk about, you know, we actually talked about the T206 Cobb that I had submitted at the Mint. And, you know, he was real curious to know what it ended up grading at, because I cracked it out of an SCD case. Anyway, really smart kid. But then they have another guy there at the counter just for basic trade named Raymond, and Ray is an expert there. So anyway, he cashed me out at like, you know, something that seemed eminently fair. And I was like, okay, I've got some ample trade here at Burbank. And I really wanted one card. So I was, you know, because it's like, that's what we do, right? I mean, sometimes we consolidate. If you've been collecting for a long time, it's nice to add something significant to your collection that you maybe didn't have. And I'm not a soccer collector per se, but I do recognize greatness. And, you know, Ronaldo and Messi are the two goats in soccer. I mean, obviously Pele, and you got, you know, all the different historical soccer players. But I saw a card in the case that I really liked. Sorry, that was a long interim. And it was a Ronaldo auto patch card from Select, graded a Gem Mint 10 by PSA, and an auto is a 9. And unfortunately, it's really hard to find a Ronaldo card that is on card auto. Those will run you into the 5 figures. This is a sticker card, but it's a pretty full, as far as Ronaldo's auto goes. It's a pretty full version on a sticker. It does cut off the card a little bit, but I liked it enough. I liked the game used jersey, 2017 select, kind of an early time in the run. And I just, pretty much it worked out perfectly with the trade I brought, a bunch of cards that I was completely open to parting with. And then I get, a Ronaldo card. So this is now my Ronaldo card, all-time goals leader in the sport of soccer, football. So pretty cool, pretty happy with that. And numbered out of 40. So
Cool.
Ronaldo.
Nice. It's nice when you can move. Listen, our PCs are no, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for many of us, our PCs have a portion of our PCs are fluid. There are some cards that are like, coffin cards, I think we're calling them, right? But there are some cards that are PC, but you might get tired of them. And I enjoy going through my collection every so often, maybe twice a year, and kind of saying, okay, do I still reevaluating my need to own these cards, and also making room for new ones, not just like I'm talking about making room. Like there's only so much capacity where I store my cards, So
yeah,
right. It's nice. There's some people that only want 100 cards in their collection. So you want a new card, what's coming out, right? I think that's a neat way to collect, but it's okay to be fluid. But isn't it a nice feeling, Joe, when you can kind of move out of cards that you really know you don't want anymore and add one or however many that you really love and like reignite your passion?
It does feel very clearing. There must be like a feng shui about it. Like you're because I don't want to say it's clutter, but all the cards in my collection occupy a certain amount of space in my brain. I'm constantly trying to think, where are they? When might I need to access them, depending on what's going on with, the hobby or my own, finances, etc. So yeah, it is. There's something wonderful about, in getting a card that you want, right? Like targeting a card that's going to mean more to you, and you're going to be able to enjoy, so that was cool. And then the other couple I was going to show, Jeremy, we barely talked to each other since the Mint, man. It's like I miss you. Jeez. But I was at the Mint. I hadn't really planned to submit cards, but there was a company there, Jim Mint. They're out of Fort Lauderdale, and they do PSA submissions. Leighton actually stopped by to help me with the Cobb because I was cracking that Cobb out. But I had a few other raw cards on me at the time. And so I just submitted them, regular submission to through Jim Mint, and they regular submission. I guess it ended up being 6 weeks, and they were really good. They like updated me. They sent me updates and good rate. So anyway, I got a few cards back from this. The first is this Penny Hardaway Noise Boys. So that's a little bit of what I collect, Rich. I mean, among other things, 90s basketball, never go wrong. So it came back a 9. This card, it's hard to do justice. If you hold one of these Noise Boys in hand, which I know you have, I think you have, don't you have like a Shaq 10 or something?
I think it's a 9.
Shaq.
I have a Shaq, yeah.
They're gorgeous cards. But I didn't know what it was going to come back at because they're die cut in a very interesting way. So came back a 9. I was totally happy with that. Pretty low pop count. And then the other one was this Metal Championship Galaxy KG, big ticket Garnett. And this one also came back a 9. Sorry. But yeah, this is another 90s insert, which Galaxy. And then lastly, this one didn't come back quite as high. I didn't really expect it to, but this is a Michael Jordan scoring magnet. Really cool foil on the front. And this one came back a 7. So this one's 95 metal. So not quite as high of a grade, but these are all PC cards for me. And it's cool to get them slabbed. And I'm pretty stoked at how they graded out. And yeah.
Good.
Maildays.
Cool. There's 2 more cards that came in this week. I forgot about. Well, they're sitting here. I don't know why I missed them, but these were a part of a trade I did with a buddy of mine. And this is a 2017 O-Pee-Chee Platinum Orange Checkers out of 25 of Connor McDavid. So pretty cool card. This is for anyone who's not a hockey, if you're a basketball or a football guy, this is kind of like the hockey version of Prism in terms of being shiny, chrome-like, and having a ton of not a ton, but several parallels. And this is the Orange Checkers, as I mentioned, and it's out of 25. So pretty cool card for the McDavid insert collection, or parallel, I guess. And then speaking of getting Malkin, this might be his nicest card, like his nicest non-one of one. This is a 2014-15 The Cup Emblems of Endorsements of Malkin out of 15. And I say, because look at those first of all, emblems of endorsements are always beautiful, but the patches on this are just ridiculous.
That is a ridiculous patch, especially that top one. What's going on there? Is that a number or like a?
No, it's part of it would be part of some special commemorative patch. I would have someone in the chat might know. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I've seen it before. So it would be one of those oh yeahs when someone told me what it was. But just a great card. So those are the new cards that arrived in my possession this week. About seven cards or so. And it's fun to share these on After Hours and just kind of go through my arrivals of the week. I'm going to do some comment. Oh, go ahead, Joe. Then I'm going to go to comments.
Why don't you go to comments and sure. Come back? This is slightly different. I wanted to show one other thing connected to Peter's show and.
Okay, good. I'll do comments and we'll do that. And make sure you remind me if I forget that we're going to do that. So this is a comment from Bobby Burrell going back to the talk about whether or not we're going to see another player like Gretzky. He says, super stacked team for Edmonton made Gretzky that much better. Add on the 1980s. Hard to recreate the scenario, which I think is exactly right. He had an amazing team between one of the best offensive defensemen of all time in Paul Coffey. He had he had a winger by the name, a Finnish gentleman by the name of Jari Kurri, who is a Hall of Famer, an amazing player in and of himself. And he was Gretzky's line mate for many years. He had Mark Messier, who's an icon. So yeah, I agree with what Bobby says there. Irving picked up a Crosby Diamond Club auto. It came into his shop, had to get it. Congrats, Irving. And go to Monera Sports Cards when you're in LA. I didn't make it last time, but I'll make it next time, Irving. Daniel says, loving the Battle of Alberta, 80s hockey. Edmonton Boy says, let's go Oilers. I'll say let's go Flames. It's funny. So I was picking up dinner for my wife and I at a restaurant tonight. And I'm in there, I'm waiting for my food. I'm just like sitting up on the counter waiting for it, looking at my phone. And somebody walks in and goes, Jeremy? I go, oh, hey, it's a guy I work with actually. And we're talking and he goes, I didn't know you were an Oilers fan. I go, I'm not an Oilers fan. I'm a Flames fan. He goes, well, your shirt. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm wearing Oilers on my person right now, but I'm not a fan of the Oilers. I'm a fan of the Wayne Gretzky rookie card. Big difference. So don't call me out on this show for wearing the Oilers on me, but that was pretty funny. Rich Barone says, will Joe be at the Expo? I don't think you will be, will you?
No. I've had a couple people ask me that, and regretfully, I will not. There is a California show, Burbank,
end of August, right?
End of August. So those my Canadian brethren and sisterin and everyone else, I hope y'all can make it down. I think that'll be a wonderful show. I was talking actually to Rob about that, and they're pretty psyched to have it so close to and LA is just full of amazing card folks, not only businesses, but, personalities in the hobby, Carvin's down there, all kinds of really cool FD. Love that show you guys did the other night. Got a little history from your perspective of your origin story. But I won't be at the Expo.
Yeah, to wrap that up. I'm gonna try to come down to the Burbank show in California at the end of August. We'll see. I'd love to come there, and because really I think LA, SoCal is really a hobby hotbed, right? Like it truly is. So I'd like to come down there. Edmonton Boy says, love the Oakland Athletics shirt, Joe. I want to go to, it is cool, man. Daniel asks a really fun question. We're going to pose it to you. Joe, what cutoff year is considered vintage to you? Where does vintage end for you? What year?
I pretty much align with the old Beckett reckoning, which I believe is 79. And that's mostly in the realm of baseball, since they were, baseball was sort of the major part. You could make an argument that 72 to 73, where they stopped having, actually, I think it was 75 might have been the last year of high numbers. High numbers, for those who don't know, the companies would bring by the product. And if say your 7-Eleven, was still stocked with Topps baseball, they would say, no, thanks. And so a lot of those high numbers never got released, in the same quantity. I'd say around, 1980, let's just say 1980.
Well, that's exactly what Mark Santucci said. For me, it's 89. I mean, that's what works for me in my hobby approach, because I feel that things really didn't change in the cards between 80 and 89 or 88, I guess. And then 89, you got Upper Deck coming in, and they totally changed the game. No more gum, no more wax, paper. It totally changed. But anyway, I think that's one of those things that no one's ever going to be able to. We're never going to get consensus on that, and that's okay. It's still fun to talk about. Back up here, though, Rich mentioned that he apparently won the Bathgate from me at the last PWCC Sunday Weekly. Well, congratulations to you, Rich, and I hope you enjoyed that card. And thanks for buying it. And if you do the PSA set, Rich, and you're going to add it, and they'll send me a notification, and I'll take it out if I don't remember to do that myself ahead of time. Mark Santucci says, does Joe like Raleigh Fingers, Mr. October from any years in the 70s? Does he like George Brett, Mike Schmidt? Yes, and yes.
Yeah, I mean, my mom actually sold Reggie Jackson plants, if you can believe that, in Oakland in the early 70s. So he gave us a few free tickets when I was a kid. So I definitely like Reggie Jackson. Raleigh Fingers 2 with the mustache, the iconic, and pretty much set the gold standard for a relief pitcher quite early in baseball history. And then George Brett was kind of the enemy. I respected him, but we were always battling with him in the 70s, in terms of the A's versus the Royals. And then Mike Schmidt, didn't have a whole lot of connection. Had his rookie card and the 73 Schmidt stay, but not particularly. He was an amazing player, and back when home runs really meant something. I mean, he was constantly leading the league in home runs. So respect both Schmidt and Brett, but not really fan.
I got to go back to the this Reggie Jackson. That's the guy from the Naked Gun movies, right? Just kidding. I know Reggie. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Moving along, Rich Barone says National in AC. Rich, I will be there. It is in AC. We will see you there, my friend. And actually, Rich, I'm actually flying into New York. We just booked the flight today. My wife's coming with me. We're flying into New York. I got to sneeze. Hold on. Oh! Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. That just came out of nowhere. I'm flying into New York, and then I got to find my way to Atlantic City, Rich. Maybe I can carpool with you. That'd be fun. Lapper says Malkin is so underrated in the hobby, undervalued in the hobby. He certainly is. And Rich says Emblems of Endorsements is one of the best subsets each year in Upper Decks the Cup, and I agree. It's a beautiful subset pretty much every year. Hockey Guy says, does Joe think the A's will get the stadium done in Oakland?
I don't. I mean, it's just a bit of a cluster. I can't say that I am entirely informed, but my general sense is, and it's sad, but my general sense is that there won't be enough of a groundswell to finance it.
That's what it comes down to, is who's paying for it. And yeah. Okay. Anthony George, been a while since I could catch a live. Thanks, guys. Great show. Thank you, Anthony George. Good to have you back. Purple Haze says, I got to go Koufax in vintage. Yeah, I mean, same here. Love
Yeah.
Sandy Koufax.
No, I mean, Koufax works for a lot of reasons, including, that Dodger blue, one team. Maybe, I mean, feel free. I know Hank Greenberg, but feel free to name a better Jewish, more known Jewish baseball player. I'm sure there's a few I'm forgetting, but Koufax, was observing, Jewish rituals like in the time when he was playing. So that's pretty significant. And he passes the eye test. That's one of the things when I do not like comparing eras because I think it's so impossible. But I think there's certain players you can look back on and say, like, how good was that guy? And it's like, you watch Sandy Koufax pitch, he was throwing gas, and he was a crafty pitcher. So a lot of respect for Koufax, and that 55 rookie card is
sweet for sure. I have one and I absolutely love it. Justin Bode, what is going on? Long time no see. Hello to you. And Richie Barone calls out Nolan Ryan, what do they call him? The Texas Express, something like that. Was that his nickname?
Sounds about
Ryan, right. The Ryan Express.
Ryan Express. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Nolan Ryan to me is one of the, listen, I'm not a humongous baseball fan, but from what I know and what I've seen, and I was a pretty big baseball fan in the 80s and the first half of the 90s, Nolan Ryan to me is one of the best pitchers of all time. And unfortunately, his rookie card comes with Jerry Koosman as well, so you don't get that full dedication of the card of that 8 1/4 square inches to the one player, but you get what's that 4 and 4.125 square inches of them. So that's something. Anthony George calls out Bob Gibson and his his 58 tops rookie card with the pink background is a beauty.
59
is a 50. Thank you. Yeah, nice cards. It's always fun to. It's like, hey, I used to be so good at knowing you name a player, I know their rookie year because I know their card and I can picture it. But you go back to like 2017 forward in hockey, I don't have that in my mind anymore. I can't keep track anymore of who's in what set. And it's because the cards all look very similar. Like Young Guns, they change, but they don't change that much. Whereas in the 80s and the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the card designs changed dramatically year to year. It made it easier to distinguish. Look at Prism. How can you tell Prism apart one year to the next? It's basically very similar in design. Minor sort of changes. Just my thoughts. Nolan, yeah, that was a great fight, says Ed C. When Robin Ventura, didn't Robin Ventura charge the mound on Nolan Ryan, and Nolan Ryan just tuned him? Like, so funny. Junkyard Goat Hunter says 5,000 strikeouts and not a single Cy Young. Is that a mistake, or should he have won one? I can't answer that.
We've had some pretty heated arguments in the clubhouse about Nolan Ryan. I mean, because some people really have a hard time, working through like his wins and losses. The fact that he never really played on a preeminent. Well, there was the Mets early in his career, but our friend Eric Myers, he's a big Nolan Ryan guy, and getting back to that eye test, if you ever saw Ryan pitch in person and you actually witnessed how hard he threw, it's really, I mean, and obviously there's more to pitching than just throwing hard, but he had such a dominance, and somebody meant, the 5K strikeouts. It's sort of a confluence of how the sport of baseball works. It's not like, say, basketball where, you're 1/5, there's only 5 players on the floor at a time. You can have a much greater impact, right? If you're, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry. But, baseball depends on, offense, defense, pitching. It's a much more complicated and complex sport in that regard. So any single human, even if they are
Mike Trout, even if they're Mike Trout, it's not always going to equate to, we're all enchanted with rings now and all that. But anyway, good point, Junkyard. Good point. So more points coming out on this. Rich says it was the headlock he put him in. That's right. Lapper says, I feel like you're wrong, Jeremy. I'm not sure there has ever been a punch thrown in baseball. Rich Barone says,
from a hockey guy? Is that from a hockey guy?
Yeah. Rich says, Ryan never played for a real team, but he did have 21 hitters and like 7 no-hitters or something like that. Like, the guy was a machine. And to never win a Cy Young, it does seem, it feels criminal that he never won a Cy Young. Like, that he deserves a Cy Young on his resume.
They look at the one loss, and he seemed to be generally be like somewhere in the 15-9 range, or like 17-12 range, or sometimes even closer to 500. So it wasn't as impressive as like Steve Carlton or whomever it was taking the award at that time.
Right. A couple comments about Kershaw. Daniel says he has had a very special career. I wonder how he will be remembered. Such a great, consistent pitcher. And then Junkyard says Kershaw probably the best of our era. This is after I was a baseball fan. I know the name. I don't even know what is his first name. Justin?
Clayton.
Thank you. Well, two syllables at least. And I had that part right. And but I don't even know what team the guy plays for or what teams he's ever played for. So I can't speak to Kershaw. So I got nothing to say. But before I go to you on that, Hockey Guy says Kershaw is one of the modern greats along with Scherzer. I know his first name is Max, but I mean, that's all I know is that you guys tell me these are two of the all-time greats. What's your thoughts on Kershaw?
I mean, he's a gamer. I'm glad he broke through. The Dodgers broke through. I'm an A's fan, so I'm a Giants fan at times as well. So I'm not massively, in the know and or a fanboy of Dodger players in a general sense. So, but yeah.
Hockey Guy's probably right here, saying I'm probably thinking of Justin Verlander, who is a name that I am familiar with. And I'm also familiar with CC Sabathia. What does Daniel say? Sat many times behind home plate. The sound of Sabathia's pitches hitting the catcher's mitt during his Cleveland days were like nothing I ever heard. That's a nice experience right there. Rich is saying, what are you trying to get involved in baseball talk here, Jeremy? You're a hockey guy. Fair enough, Rich. Fair enough. I should stick to my lane.
Well, unless it's Ken Griffey. I mean, I think you could probably speak a little to Ken Griffey's.
I can speak to baseball up until around 95. I can speak to baseball, and then after that, I just kind of don't. I know Mike Trout, but I just know that he's great. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't watch him. I'm not really interested. I'm not interested in watching baseball right now. I prefer the history of baseball to the current.
Well, that's a nice segue. You asked me to let you know if we're going to get back, and I went looking around. 2 cards got mentioned in the episode with Peter, which was again fantastic. If you guys didn't get a chance to see that, go back and watch that. But the first we were talking about and I have my big bangers in the safety deposit box. So these are just things I keep around close to me to just display in my home. But the first one we were talking about, the Walter Johnson portrait. This is the glove at chest issue. And as everybody pointed out, the portraits are more desirable, and yet these ones I still think bring. And this one's been chewed by a rat or something. It's authentic, but it's definitely been through the Great Depression of the 20s, maybe post-war 30. Like God knows what story this has, but a rat was hungry at some point. And then the other one that got mentioned was the 38 Gaudy heads up card, which you were mentioning with the DiMaggio. I don't have the DiMaggio handy, but I do have this Greenberg, which I mentioned earlier, as a sort of iconic Hall of Famer. It's got the problem with the surface there with a little bit of paper loss on the hat, unfortunately, but it's a great card to kind of just have around. You guys were talking about this on the show the other night with the mantle. I think it was the 51 mantle, natural toning, and the feeling of the natural toning and how like it almost shouldn't count against a card. It's almost just the process of oxygen and paper over the span of
70 years,
75, 100 years. Like it would it would be unreasonable to think that it wouldn't happen. So, we've talked about how, specific cards, maybe the Gretzky rookie with the jagged edge, like certain grading companies may have different approaches to that. But to me, like with regards to toning of these older cards, it's like, yeah, there's going to be some fairly immaculate copies where you're just like, how did that happen? But a little natural toning, I love it.
Yeah, same here. I like my vintage cards to have toning. I do not want them to look like they're freshly pack pulled. It just doesn't feel right to me. Joe, that was it the Mathewson that had the rat chew out of it?
Walter Johnson. It was
Johnson. Can you send me a scan of that? I want to change. Like I very quickly whipped up a YouTube thumbnail for our episode after the last one.
Yeah.
And I always use the Golden State Warriors logo for you but I want to put that card on there instead. Can you send me a good picture or a scan even of that card? And I want to put that up as the as a decorative item on the YouTube thumbnail for this episode we're doing right now. Here's a question for you, Joe, from my buddy Rich. He says, dead cuts. What's Joe's thoughts? Because Rich Barone is a big collector of I love how he says it. He almost says it like I'm mad at you for dying. What do you collect, Richie? Dead cuts, dead cuts, dead cuts. I collect dead cuts. And then he looks at you like it dares you to have one almost. Like you got some? Or anyway, he wants to know, what are your thoughts on cut autographs of players who have passed away?
I think it depends on how badly I want the autograph. I've been shopping for a Satchel Paige autograph for a while now, and if I found the right one, I'd go for it. I can't say that I'm preternaturally disposed to think that that's the ideal way to have the auto presented, but in particularly rare cards where you might have a company accessing a piece of a letter, a check, and there's very few others available. It comes down to, well, do you want the autograph? Because there might not be another way to get it. So I guess aesthetically, I'm not a big fan of dead cuts, but if it's, Cool Papa Bell, and the only way I'm going to get an autograph of Cool Papa Bell is, somebody had him sign a book. And so, Upper Deck bought the book and then, excavated it and put it on a card, then maybe I'll like dead cuts.
Okay. Good answer. And an in-depth answer as well. And thank you, Rich, for a question for Joe. Any other questions for Joe, guys? Put them in the chat, please, please, please. Daniel says, love those old cards. I wish they could speak. Me too. Like, that's one of the coolest things we'll never know about many of the cards that we own is whose hands they pass through over the period of up to 140. I have one card in my collection that's 100 and let's see, let me do the math quickly. 112 and 22. What's that? 134 years old. Like, what the heck? I have a card that's been in it was printed 134 years ago. How many people's hands have that traveled through? How many cities, states, countries has that card traveled through? Who owned it? That is the thing that we'll just never know about these cards, and only they know them, and they don't even know them. So, any comments on that line of thought?
I think I'll throw some cards on the screen that might fit that bill. This is we've all heard Tinkers to Evers to Chance, the famous Chicago Cubs, double play trio. Well, here's Evers and Chance, and I pulled these out as Peter was talking because he was just bringing me back. And again, I've got some big bangers. They're not in my house because I just choose to keep them in safes. But this is the E91 issue. And then this is the Standard Caramel 1910 issue. And you can see these are ones. This is a 1.5 from the now defunct but beloved Global Authentic. And it's a fair 1.5. But yeah, I mean, someone asked me earlier what I collect. I spent a lot of time collecting this kind of vintage from roughly maybe like about 2008 to about 2015. I was pretty big into tobacco cards. So picking up as many. And of course, I agree. The Walter Johnson portrait card with the yellow background. Do you have one of those, Jeremy?
No.
We got to boost you up on your T206. You've got the Cobb.
I've never owned a T206.
What?
I know. It's
unbelievable,
right?
Like, where would you start? Like, what would be your first move?
It would be a Ty Cobb red background portrait.
Peter was pretty convincing. I have to admit, as soon as he said that to whoever asked that question, I was like, oh yeah, what are the reds and greens, and what is the price variation on those?
I don't know what it is relative to each other, but I know that the greens sell for, it's a significant premium over the reds, which to me is like a great reason to buy the red. It's more affordable. It's just as nice, if not nicer. I mean, I love it.
And knowing you and myself as well, you'd be buying it in a PSA slab, and so the red and the red would look good together.
Yeah, color match to the grading company label, I guess, if that means anything. But it helps it to present a little bit better, I suppose. But that's where I would start. I've wanted one for a while. And Rich Barone, he throws Wagner out there. Rich actually has a Wagner.
Really?
Yeah, he does. I think what is it, Rich? It's like a PSA 1 or something, or is it an authentic? I don't remember, a 1.5, but Rich has one of the one of the Wagners. So
you mentioned green, and this is not a particularly amazing card, but we talked about the standard caramel, and Peter allowed that of the ones that I sort of mentioned in the chat was one that he found to be the most interesting. This is Rube Waddell, not in a particularly good grade, but I have a couple of these cards. I think I have a 3, and then I have another like 1. So it's not my only one. The thing I love about this card, I mean, along with the story of Rube Waddell, which if you don't know, you could go read about. He was an interesting dude, but I just love the green.
What? We can't see it. It's so hard to show cards on StreamYard. We can't even see the green, but
it's a deep green, and it just like the color alone, and it's a little bit like there's a spectrum of green that's run through the natural printing of it. The saturation, I guess, is the term, and it's just gorgeous. Like I mean, Rube Waddell, Hall of Famer, but like the card itself is just one of those ones where like, and not too easy to find either. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff that's why tonight's episode was so special to me. Like I really loved that Peter was in the know of all that stuff, and that the hobby is still alive in that area is encouraging and super positive.
Yeah, the hobby is definitely still alive and thriving, despite what some narratives might try and push your way. I'm going to go to a few comments here. We're going to wrap up pretty quick. We've been on over an hour already. We'll wrap this up. Rock Latex said the knock on Nolan Ryan is that he walked too many batters, too many base runners allowed. He had some wild pitches because he was trying to hit the players themselves, but he missed a few times, right? Daniel says, didn't Satchel Paige pitch 3 shutout innings when he was like 60 years old for the Royals? I can't confirm nor deny that. Paul Weber says, I have multiple cool Papa autos from a St. Louis card shop owner collection where he lived. Happy to cut a deal for Joe. Very cool. Rich Brown confirms that his Honus Wagner T206 is a PSA 1. I mean, any Honus Wagner is an amazing card.
Just a one.
Daniel says, what year were the Black Swamp baseball cards? I think, were they not T206s?
Yeah, the Black
were.
Fine.
1909 to 1911. Yeah. Gropeman cards in the house. What is up, Grop? I don't even know if it's Gropman. I just know that we're communicating a lot, and it's great to see you on the show. Jake's Toe says, does Joe buy any high-grade base cards? I still buy PSA 10 Griffey's junk wax just because I like them. Do you, Joe?
I don't know. I mean, so I was going to show this. I sometimes I like to crack a little bit of wax, and I got a first off the line Origins basketball. So it's not a base card, but it's a Cade Cunningham, #1 draft pick, rookie card.
Quick good night to Daniel. Thanks for joining. We'll see you in Toronto, buddy. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, so like of modern kind of standard issues, like I like the sort of parallels, I guess, that are low pop. This is one of 3. Pretty nice card with the swirl there going on. But anyway, yeah, not a whole lot of that, but a little bit.
Thanks for clarifying. It's Grop. I guess Gropman is better than Gropman. So thank you for clarifying that. That's good to know. Information Man Show, what's going on? Hello to you. Welcome to the show. And Purple Haze says, Joe, do you collect any non-sport cars? Well, I know Joe collects a bit. Talk a bit about that, Joe.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely like classic rock. I mean, Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, Beatles, all those would be cards that I'd be interested in. I can never pronounce it right, so Jeremy, help me out. Sam,
I don't know how to pronounce it either, but it's spelled
you
Sam Larsaker, and that's a Swedish word for collectible, I believe. And that's you'll see those on a lot of 60s and 70s cards for music cards, Hollywood celebrity cards. They're really called, it's called like the 1974 Swedish, and then it'll say Sam Larsaker down below on the PSA label.
And I'm very interested. What I haven't really pulled the trigger on much, but like, Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z, like anybody modern that has contemporary relevance, I'm interested in. I think, we know Carvin's been working with The Weeknd, and I think he'll probably target a few more, really contemporary, relevant artists in the near future. And so I just see that as a wonderful territory, frontier for people, because I think we can all agree that culture and music means something to people, and the nostalgia that's there for them will probably make those items appealing down the road.
I'm with you. I went on my music and celebrity card binge about a year ago, and I actually added my first Jimi Hendrix card like a month ago. Oh, I bought it at the Mint, actually. I bought my Jimi card at the Mint. It was one of 2 cards I picked up there. And so, yeah, I like a lot of that stuff as well. It's fun. It's culturally relevant. It's historical, and it's some good music too that those artists pumped out back in the day. Brendan Ryan says, I'm surprised more celebrity card collectors don't have their names on PSA labels like the Gretzky Wagner. Yeah, what's his name again that had the big collection, the baseball player? Not, was it Albert Bell? Who had a baseball player had the huge collection? It wasn't, I don't think it was Albert. Who was it? Someone will know. Hockey guy will know. Who had that? He had a collection of all PSA 10s, all Hall of Fame baseball players, and his name is now on those cards, and he sold them all. You sometimes see them now on the market, but I agree with Brendan Ryan. Like there's Dimitri Young. I knew Hockey Guy would know. It was the Dimitri Young collection, and his name is on those labels. Not Phil Hughes. No, not Phil Hughes. He's a breaker nowadays, I think. But yeah, Todd Rhodes knew as well that it's Dimitri Young. Michael McGovern also knew it was Dimitri. Thank you, guys. I saw that when PSA had that collection on display at their booth at the National like 10 years ago. I remember just like gazing at that and being like, wow, imagine owning any one of these cards, and here Dimitri Young owns them all. But he has since sold them off. So but yeah, I think that makes sense because that's provenance, and it's also a little bit of value add because these celebrities are brands. Imagine if Drake, he has his 3 Michael Jordan rookies now. He's going to get them graded. He should put the Drake collection on there. That would add value to them down the road, especially since when it was broke, when they came out, you have documentation of them coming out on Ken Golden's Instagram, all that stuff. That's pretty cool. Rich Brown says, do you think Panini is getting a little too crazy with inserts? I think listen, I can't really speak to inserts because I don't know much about Panini's inserts right now, but it's the parallels really where I think, Rich, I think you're really meaning the parallels. Correct me if I'm wrong. And do I think they're getting a little crazy? I mean, if there's over 50 parallels of each set, then I think it's crazy. But if there's a market for it and it does help differentiate, basically you take a million cards and you divide it by 60. Now you've got, fewer of each card out there, but a lot of people say, well, overall, there's still like a million of these cards. So I know it's getting late. I'm rambling a bit, but hope that somewhat made some sense. Al Guido, hey, welcome. I finally made it to a live stream. Great info. Awesome. Glad to have you for a live stream, Al. Thank you for joining. Hockey guy, I purchased an Ace Frehley rookie a while back as well. Cool. The drummer from Kiss, I believe, the drummer, right? Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, before we go, I know you're rolling towards the close, but I just want to get who's going to win the Stanley Cup this year. I just want to get you on record.
No.
No?
It's two, man, all the teams left are really good. Every team left has a shot, I would say. Every single one.
Including your team?
Oh, yeah. My team's definitely a contender.
You don't want to be bold or you don't want to jinx them?
Neither. I just don't know. The Stanley Cup playoffs are a grind. It's a battle. Like you have to win 16 games. I know basketball's similar, right? You have to win 16 games to get there. It's not easy, and you're getting beat up every single night. It's not like these prima donna basketball players who might twist an ankle, no, these guys, and I say that tongue in cheek, of course. It's a rough game. It's basically it's almost football on skates at a much faster speed, right? So it's tough. Shout out to them.
Can you give me at least a possible matchup in the Stanley Cup final?
Sure. Tampa, Calgary, Carolina, Calgary, Colorado, Carolina, Colorado, Florida, Colorado, Tampa. I don't think the Rangers are going to get there. So
I like the first one, Tampa, Calgary.
Tampa, that would be a rematch of 2004.
Okay. Wow.
That would be a rematch. So hopefully it goes Calgary's way this time if that happens. Okay, I'm going to run through the comments and we'll just kind of end this. Rich Barone says music is a tough industry to get a card set together because of the labels. Yeah, and he'd know. He worked with Aerosmith for many years. Purple Haze, non-sport. I'm getting a few top 69 Man on the Moon cards. That's pretty cool. Hockey guy, his family is still selling stuff off from the collection. That'd be Dimitri Young. Michael McGovern says the gold Jeter rookie is for sale on eBay for $25,000. Oh, like the Topps gold, I guess you mean? It's a $2,500 card. Okay. Lapper says 400 plus modern football and basketball rookie cards with the parallels is a bit much. It is a lot. Ace's guitar. Thank you. Peter Chris is the drummer. Thank you. Thank you guys for straightening me out on that. Hockey guy, I hope for Tampa Bay Lightning versus Colorado in the finals. Okay, you're banned. Just kidding. Kisses. Cheer. Not sure what you mean there. Calgary, yes. And everyone except Carolina, the Rangers, and Edmonton, says Lapper, in the finals. Well, that would include Tampa, Calgary. So, okay. Guys, we're gonna end it. We're an hour 15, but there are still over 60 of you watching. So that's a great crowd for this late for 1:30 in the morning on the Eastern seaboard over there. But Joe, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Well,
good.
Man, thanks.
Have to sometime. I love my Saturday nights with Sports Cards Live.
Well, thanks for being a part of it tonight. This was fun. I'm glad you did. Thanks to everybody in the chat who joined for the late show. And if you did for the early show, thank you for that as well. Next Saturday on Sports Cards Live, we have Spinatron joining the show.
Legend.
A legend, a hobby.
I don't even know who this guy is, but like everybody talks. Well, I'm sure if you talk to Spinatron or Spinatron has that. I mean, it's like everybody's like, it all comes back to Spinatron.
Exactly.
Is it Jordan? And he's super. He's got
rare 90s basketball insert sets, like all the essential credentials, and he's got a top tier collection, maybe one of the best in the world. No joke. He's coming on to talk about collecting. That's next Saturday, guys. If you're not following Joe on Instagram, you've seen his IG handle streaming across the bottom for the last hour at Cali Dreamin' 84 because he is a Cali guy. Joe was surfing earlier today. Meanwhile, no, there was no snow up here in Calgary today. But I want to thank Joe for joining. This was fun. Joe, you'll hang tight. Let's say good night to Purple Haze. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time. Rich Barone, good to see you. Good night, Brendan Ryan. Good night, Michael McGovern. Good night, Junkyard Goat Hunters. Richie, we'll see you in a couple weeks in Toronto, and Lapper, we'll see you there too. Guys, this week is over. I will be streaming on the channel tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern on the show Collectible Live, which is now going to be on my channel versus theirs. Come on down and watch that tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern. And again, Spinatron next week. If not, though, have a great week and look forward to seeing everybody in Toronto and, of course, Atlantic City afterwards. Fellow Five Ball, thank you very much. Santucci, great to see you. And yes, we'll see you at Expo, Richie. This one is